I shall do one thing in this life, one thing certain. That is, love you and long for you and keep wanting you till I die. In last week's video, I talked about 3 examples of toxic masculinity outlined in Thomas Hardy's Test of the D'Urbervilles. And today, as a way of balancing the scales and, of course, to continue my conversation about Thomas Hardy, I thought it'd be fun to dive into his most positive and uplifting novel, Far from the Madding Crowd. This novel also has 3 male main characters, Mr. Boldwood, Frank Troy, and Gabriel Oak. And they also represent 3 very different approaches to masculinity and navigating what it means to be a man in this world. And most notably, we get this beautiful, balanced, realistic, wholesome approach to masculinity in the character of Gabriel Oak. And so, yes, today's video is a little bit of a love letter to Mr. Oak, and also comparing how he constructs his masculinity versus the other 2 male main characters. So what is it about Mr. Oak that makes him so special compared to the other 2 men in the novel who construct their self-worth and masculinity through structures of power and society? Gabriel Oak represents something else entirely. To quote Dr. Khatereh Tanoori in their wonderful thesis titled Men and Presence, Constructions of Masculinity in Selective Novels by Thomas Hardy, I quote that Hardy wrote Oak to examine the possibility of alternative modes of being in the world and alternative ways of practicing masculinity. He portrays Oak as a man who is capable of governing his desires and a man who acts rationally. So what does that mean exactly? Let's dive into it. Come on, folks, get your shepherding crooks at the ready and let's dive into this beautiful story, and specifically give a little shout out to Mr. Gabriel Oak and outline the positive example of masculinity that he gives us in this story. So first of all, of course, we have to give an outline of the plot if you don't know it. It is an excellent book. There's a beautiful audiobook version available, I believe, on Spotify. And if you're one of those, I'd rather watch the movie than read the book, the 2015 adaptation is excellent. They did change a few little details in the story, but it is a faithful adaptation, and the costuming designer is incredible. The locations are incredible. Carey Mulligan is incredible, and Matthias Schoenaerts is so sexy. Okay, so anyway, let's talk about the story. So Bathsheba Everdeen has just come to live with her aunt in the countryside, and she meets her new neighbor, Gabriel Oak. After a few interactions between the 2 of them, he offers her a straightforward, no-frills proposal. He says, "I love you, will you marry me?" And she refuses. He's a working class shepherd. He doesn't have much to offer her in that department. It would be a slight step up because she's in a really financially strained position at the moment. But she doesn't do it. She says, "I'm not considering marriage right now." And she even tries to tell him, "You wouldn't be able to deal with me. I'm so annoying." Basically, she's like, "You'd grow to despise me," as I quoted at the beginning of this video. And he responds in the beautiful way that "I will never stop loving you." So Bathsheba soon comes into money. Her uncle passes away, and she is able to take over his farm and all that comes with it. And as the wheel of fortune turns, Mr. Oak, unfortunately, his fortunes fall the opposite way. His young sheepdog drives his entire flock off a cliff, killing them all. It's really dark. And then Oak decides, I'm going to go to the job fair at Weatherbury. On his way there, he sees a farm on fire, and he stops and leads the effort to help them put it out very successfully. He, is such an ubermensch. He just like is telling everybody, you do this, come on, let's put it out. And he puts out the fire, and he soon finds out that the farm in question was indeed that of Miss Bathsheba Everdeen, and she hires him on as shepherd. Bathsheba's loving life right now. She's enjoying her position as lady farmer, and she's making an effort to improve the place. She's going over the books, and it's just, she's loving it. And she is soon spotted by her new neighbor, Mr. William Boldwood, and he ignores her at first. He doesn't even turn his head to her, but she makes the stupid decision to send Mr. Boldwood a Valentine as a little prank, and after that he becomes obsessed with her. And she does not return his affections, but he is not backing down. And when she does this, when she sends the Valentine, Gabriel Oak rebukes her straight up. He's like, don't play with people's emotions like that. That was a really messed up thing to do. Offended by this, Bathsheba dismisses him. However, soon her flock of sheep is affected by the bloat, and they're in dire straits. Everyone's like, these sheep are going to die. Nobody knows how to perform the procedure that is going to heal them, except for Mr. Gabriel Oak. But she's already dismissed him, so she's weighing, should I swallow my pride and run after him, or should I just let all my sheep die? And she indeed chases after him, and he obliges. He accepts her apology, and he returns and heals the sheep, and it seems that their friendship is, for the moment, restored. Eventually, Bathsheba meets another man, Frank Troy, a soldier who dazzles her with his display of swordsmanship, and he pretty much seduces her. He's clearly experienced in the art of seduction, and at this point, although she did set out to be an independent woman and not settle down, she starts witnessing Frank Troy and Mr. Boldwood fight over her, and she's getting worn down, and the seduction tactics, they worked on her. Furthermore, she is subject to flights of fancy. Unfortunately, it's one of her character flaws, and even though we all see the red flags with Frank Troy, she does give in and marry him. Immediately sensing her mistake, Bathsheba realizes Troy's a gambler who is not interested in farming, and he doesn't even love her. In fact, he was in love with her former servant, Fanny Robin. Fanny and Troy previously were engaged to be married. She accidentally left him at the altar when she went to the wrong church. I don't know if you can hear the rain. It's absolutely dumping. I'm just going to keep talking. Yeah, so Fanny accidentally left him at the altar. He is so upset by this that he dumps her. But he did not know that she's actually pregnant with his child. So now, he's married Bathsheba. He's taking advantage of his position. But he runs into Fanny on the street. He sees she's in very frail health and that she's with child. Troy gives her all the money he has, and he makes plans to meet with her in a couple of days. Unfortunately, Fanny Robin dies in childbirth alongside the baby. Gabriel Oak helps bring the body of Fanny Robin back to the farm, and wishing to protect her honor, he decides to nail the coffin shut with her and the child inside so that nobody can, whisper about, oh my gosh, she had a secret baby. Unfortunately, word does get out, and after hearing this, Bathsheba goes down in the dead of night to the coffin, unscrews the lid, and it is confirmed that her husband fathered a child with her former servant. Troy is distraught by these events. When Bathsheba kind of tries to confront him about it, he tells her, "This woman is more to me, dead as she is, than you ever were, or are, or can be," which is pretty harsh. He storms off, goes for a swim in the sea, but he is swept out by the tide and presumed dead. We find out later that he's not dead. He was rescued by some sailors, but he does not return home. So in the meantime, Bathsheba's in a pickle. She's now living the life of a widow, and she's left to deal with the aftermath of this terrible event. Mr. Boldwood sees another opportunity to advance on her, and he convinces her, if you will wait 6 years, from now, so that we can be sure he's dead, because, they don't have a body or anything, then in 6 years, will you marry me? And she agrees. And it's partly because she feels bad for leading him on, but anyways, that's what happens. And then there's a twist, because at the Christmas party that year, who should waltz in ready to reclaim his place as Bathsheba's husband but Frank Troy. And the moment that he tries to grab Bathsheba, Mr. Boldwood pulls out a gun and pews him to his doom. And it's all a bit dramatic. So after all these things have happened, all this has occurred, Bathsheba realizes the only person who has been by her side, not causing drama, is Gabriel Oak. And to her surprise, though, after all this happens, he has just given her his notice of he's gonna quit. She runs to his cottage to ask why, and he tells her there is gossip among the servants that, I want to marry you now, and I can't stand it. He does not want the drama. Bathsheba tells him tearfully that it's only too soon. And finally, she realizes he is the one, and they decide to marry quietly and live happily ever after. So, with another novel taking place in Victorian England, we are surrounded by and suffocated by gender and class roles, societal structures that everyone is expected to follow to a T. Bathsheba does not do that. She's the owner of a farm, and she is working as the manager when it might have been expected of her to hire a manager so that she could wear pretty dresses and brush her hair all day. She doesn't want to do that. She's a fiery, capable, strong young woman, and she wants to learn what it means to run the farm and do it by herself. Then we have Mr. Boldwood, who is, by societal standards, he would be the best match for her. He's well off, he's well respected, he has it all. He is a gentleman farmer. They could easily put their farms together. It would raise her station in the marriage, and the village would see it as a great match. However, she does not love him. She doesn't care about what the village thinks. She doesn't care about raising her station. She is not bound by the same societal expectations that Mr. Boldwood is. So, to unpack Mr. Boldwood a little more, he is a man who defines his masculinity by an observation of honor. He has taken no wife. He has never been known to dabble with women. Instead, he just devotes himself to his work. He has meticulously created this image of gentlemanly perfection. He has the money. He has the land. He has the honor. That all comes undone, however, when he finally sees the object of his desire, Bathsheba, and he can't get it. And suddenly his honor is damaged. Suddenly people are whispering, and he doesn't like that. First, the insincere Valentine, then being rejected by Bathsheba, and then having to fight over her with Troy and losing. It's too much for him. So his construction of what it means to be a man and what it means to exist in this world with honor is completely damaged, and it really, really messes with his brain. Now, Frank Troy, on the other hand, defines his masculinity differently. So he's from a higher class family and he joins the ranks of soldier. And it's not because he wants to fight for his country or to earn the honor. It's because the life of a soldier is one of wandering, freedom. It's the ability to partake in gambling and women without much scrutiny. He wants to fill this hole in himself where he constantly craves debauchery and pleasure without having to work for it. And this is the same reason he wants to marry Bathsheba. He doesn't love her. He doesn't want to be a farmer. He sees a beautiful woman he wants to control and a position for himself where he doesn't have to work. If he marries her, she's already got their fortunes in order. She's got the land, the house, the income. All he has to do is take his position as patriarch, and he has at his disposal a comfortable life. He can control his wife and, most importantly, their accounts. So now we come to Gabriel Oak. Mr. Oak does not define his masculinity through societal structures. Unlike Mr. Boldwood, he does not care what society thinks of him. Unlike Troy, he has no aims of experiencing ultimate pleasure in this life without having to work for it. Instead, Oak lives his life by his own moral code. When he loses his herd of sheep, he doesn't go begging for help or moaning about it. He moves on. He gets another job. When he sees the fire at the farm, he doesn't ask whose farm it is or what reward he's going to get. He does everything he can to put it out. When Bathsheba's sheep get the bloat, yes, he wants her to apologize and ask nicely, but he still goes back to help her when he could have said no. He could have abandoned her in that moment. Gabriel Oak is a capable, constant person who can do anything and accomplish any task he puts before him. When he's, talking about, I'm a shepherd by trade, but I can do anything. And even if I don't have any work before me, I've got this flute and I'll play my flute for a penny if that's what it comes to. That's the kind of person he is. He doesn't feel confined by societal expectations. If he was, he wouldn't have made his opinions on her behavior toward Mr. Boldwood so clear. He would have, if he was bound by these societal structures, he would have just kept his mouth shut and kept working. But he doesn't limit himself in that way. He lives by his own moral code and he sticks to it. He approaches life with a capability and a stoicism that helps him move through the world in his own way. He isn't worried about his position or, their societal differences. He loves Bathsheba because he sees her as a human. He feels a chemistry and a connection to her, and he cares for her. And because he has removed himself from all these societal constructs, he's able to see what's really important here and live as this constant grounding presence for Bathsheba, which she frankly lacks. He would like to improve his position, but he doesn't feel entitled to it. He's okay if it doesn't work out. He would like to have a romantic relationship with Bathsheba, but after being rejected, he recovers and he's able to work for her and be her friend regardless. He doesn't feel owed anything in life. He wants to work for it and he knows he's capable of doing so. So this is where this positive, beautiful example of masculinity really shines. By removing all those societal expectations about what a man is meant to do or how he's meant to look, Gabriel Oak is free to make his own definition and live by it. He doesn't care what anyone thinks of him. At the end of the day, He wants to be able to lay on his bed and feel that he did his best by his own metrics. He doesn't try to control anyone or anything outside himself. And that is the kind of positive masculinity that the world really craves. Men do not need to subjugate others or exercise their power over women to prove themselves. A man who has control over himself, over his flights of fancy, over his urges, over his fears, is a man worth knowing. A man who has presence, a man who makes an impression. If you are a person who can rely on yourself, then others will be able to rely on you. As I said last week, there's just so much noise out there about, what a man should be, how they should live, what color is your Bugatti. I think we would all be a lot happier as a society and as family units and as romantic couples if men would create those definitions for themselves and just keep it simple. You don't need a yacht and a cigar to be a man. You don't even need to win fights or have a giant investment portfolio. Those aren't things that make a good man. A good man knows himself. A good man has self control and self reliance. A good man knows when to ask for help. A good man will help others when he can. A good man never filters his own self image through society's expectation. A good man will show up every day doing his best and, knowing that even if he doesn't get all the women or all the riches, he's doing his best every day. And that is enough to feel satisfied in this life. And isn't it interesting that by doing just that, by being a reliable person with a good moral compass who's doing their best in life, you might just end up successful. Slow and steady wins the race, as they say. It's really true. Gabriel did not set out to win. He set out to do his best in life and to offer the world his talents and to take life as it comes. And you know what? He ends up winning with the patience and perseverance. He goes from being a humble shepherd to the master of an estate and at the side of his beloved. And I think Thomas Hardy was sort of writing a little bit of his own fantasy in here. When he was courting his wife Emma, he waited 4 years for her. That's quite a long courtship in these days, and I think he was sort of writing out a little bit of his own fantasies into this book. And even though, his Hardy's own relationship was a catastrophic failure, he still was able to take life as it came. He kept writing and dreaming up these stories, and that's what he had to offer this world. To quote the previous thesis by Dr. Tanoori, Dr. Tanoori quotes Marcus Aurelius in Meditations, which I think is a really great example of what makes Gabriel Oak so special, and is something that we can all take away from this. This is the chief thing. Be not perturbed, for all things are according to the nature of the universal, and in a little time thou wilt be nobody and nowhere. That's what it is. We all die. You're not going to take your Bugatti with you, but you are going to leave a legacy. So just some little things to consider. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please like and subscribe and all that stuff. And I'll see you next time. Bye.